Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, Miss.
Okay, thank you. Shall we wait or let's start? I think that's it. Today we are going to see about this SOAP assessment. Have you taken assessment before? Have you ever taken assessment for the any clinical conditions? Can you hear me?
Yes, Miss.
Okay. Have you taken any assessment sheet for any clinical condition? No, not yet. Okay. So maybe if you're seeing a patient in hospital setups, if you're going to see the patient in hospital setups, means the scenario is different actually, because already they have taken any physician, general physician or orthopedician will already taken all the required case sheet and all the informations. You just go through the case sheet, that is enough. In the hospital setups and all, we just go through the case sheet, and then whatever it is needed, it's little bit our workload is reduced. But when it is like when you're running own clinic, or when you're self referral, the patients comes to you without any referral from medical practitioners or anyone, just with their knowledge or with their interest they come to you, means you need to assess from the scratch. You have to take all the information, like both subjective and objective, or else whenever sometimes this full assessment from subjective to plan, till that is very mandatory. Or else you have separate assessment sheet, and from in that sheet you can get all the information from case sheet. Also from the medical case sheet you can complete it. It's mandatory, whether you did the examination or whether you asked everything. From the medical sheet also you have to complete it. For each and every patient we need to complete the it is for our documentation, nothing. We need to check the improvement, or we need to monitor, or some other physician or physiotherapist is going to take over the role of like rehabilitation and all. They need to have all the required information. That is a need actually. That is a main concept. Taking assessment and enter it as a data form is very important for um, providing information and seeing the progress. Okay, so we have some how to say the protocol, or which one is started in initial, and after that how we can progress the assessment format. Like we all know that subjective examination, that is all the details we get from the patients, from verbal informations, whatever information we gather from the patient's mouth, that's what we call subjective examination. And then objective means whatever signs we are gathering, or the conduct a test, or palpate, or inspect, observe, whatever it is, we are gathering it by performing any test, or from our point of view. It is not that subjective, it is whatever we are doing the test, that's everything comes under objective examination. Okay, so this is the order. And sometimes neurological testing, we don't need to do that. Maybe low backache or disc prolapse or any sensory disturbances are there, or any neurological involvement is there, or bladder and bowel issues, some kind of things are involved with nerves. then only neurological testing is needed. In some conditions it is mandatory, otherwise we don't need to take. As well as the same thing like vital signs. Vital signs also, it is not mandatory. Maybe young age or elderly, or if you're treating a cardiac conditions, then only the vital signs are mandatory. Otherwise, you can rule out that also. There is no rule that you have to follow this thing. And one more important thing is scanning examination. Do you have any idea what is scanning examination?
Is it the X-rays and all?
Pardon?
The X-rays, MRI tests and all?
That is all comes under diagnostic testing or imaging, right? So scanning examination means like maybe the patient comes to you for a knee joint problem, but you need to go for proximal and distal joints. Maybe referred pain from other joints. The pain may be somewhere else, but the actually the problem may be somewhere else, but pain is appears in some other joints. Maybe it appears like that. So in that thing, you have to scan the other joint. Very quick test, 2 or 3 checking palpation, inspection, or any questions you need to ask. Just scanning examination means going for proximal and distal joint. So for knee joint means check the hip joint, low back ache, lumbar disc and all, and then ankle and foot. Okay, that is called quick scanning examination. That will rule out that any other referred pains. It is not a problem. Knee joint is not an actual culprit. The other joints, other proximal or distal joints, and their problems may reflect on this joints. That is important. You need to do that. Scanning, first time you're assessing the patient. Day 1 consultation means surely you have to do scanning examination. Okay, so these are the sequence of testing the patient. Okay, so yesterday we talked about patient history. So I told you majority of the cases just with your just with the patient's information, you can come to a conclusion or you can guess the problem. Okay, you can guess the diagnosis. Okay, in very rare cases, there is a complex presentation. There is it may be confusing you in very rare cases. Maybe whenever you're running a clinic, 90% of time it's crystal clear that the problem is with that from patient's history itself, from the patient's rapport you can get. Okay, but the questions how we need to ask, it is also, I told you, it's a skill. You need to learn each and every day how to ask. That's why don't narrow down the question. That is very, very important. Don't just ask them like yes or no type of question. Is it painful, or is it here? Can you find out any tenderness? Don't ask like yes or no type. Okay, always open type questions are very, very important. How do you feel in that? How do you feel when I perform the movement? What is the response? Or what happened whenever maybe he tells you that there is a history of injury and all. Ask them a open type question. What happened? How you got injured? When pain started? Like that, a more generalized question means they will give you a more information. Okay, and one more thing is chief complaints. If somebody is saying a chief complaints, just give more importance to their chief because they come to you because of that reason. Okay, maybe there are lots of problems, or maybe the knee joint swelling, everything would be there. What is their chief complaint? What is the need for their visit? Okay. So what we have to do is give importance to all the important details and in a open way. You ask them in narrate. That's why I told you chief complaints, right? Chief complaints whenever, if, for example, pain and stiffness, if that is their main complaint, that is what they come to you, means give whatever information that is possible for this two important clinical symptoms or the chief complaints you have to gather. For example, pain. If it is the pain that is a chief complaint, you need to ask about site, duration, intensity, pattern, whether it is a referred pain, the quality of pain, or aggravating factor, relieving factor, which movement causes pain, what about rest, what impact it has on pain. After resting, what is the effect, or maybe during night, maybe after all the activities, what about the pain in evenings or night, what is the impact of pain on sleep. Okay, these are the various things you need to ask if the chief complaint is pain. Or other thing is joint stiffness, right? So in that also you gather all the information, how it started, whether you feel in the morning, how the stiffness would be, how long it persists. Maybe more than 20 minutes means you have to be careful with maybe any inflammatory sign. Okay, or any joint arthritis, joint infection, or joint inflammation, it would be that. Okay, so more than 20 minutes of joint stiffness, like after waking up, just check for ask them about the details of joint stiffness. Okay, so like that you can gather all the information, the more importance you need to give on chief complaints. Okay, and then other things, the past medical history, present medical history. Is there any previously for this problem itself, is he taking any medicine, or has he gone through any other treatments like acupuncture, or sometimes homeopathy, or any type of medicine, or allopathic medicine itself, what is the drug he has taken. So all the details, and prior to that, is the pain already he has familiar with that type of pain, when it happened, and how he controlled or how he settled the pain. Maybe sometimes without going to any healthcare professionals, they settle the pain. Maybe 3 years back, I got the same type of pain, but I somehow managed it in home itself. I took some home medicines, all the details, all the things you need to. And one more thing is like past medical history, present medical history, drug history, and one more thing, social history, family history. Social history means like lifestyle, whether they are having stress, what about their occupation, is there any stress related to that, or depression, like that, all the occupation related problems also. For example, knee joint pain, long standing jobs, or with many sedentary activities, sedentary type of jobs, like sitting jobs, that kind of things may be like when you prescribe exercise also. This type of patient, sedentary lifestyle, if they run a sedentary lifestyle, don't give them high intensity or moderate intensity. So they just imagine them as a beginners, and then give them a low intensity exercises. Okay, so that is very very important. So occupational history, social history, family history. Is there any any disorders or any syndromes running in families? Diabetes, hypertension, or stroke, or myocardial infarction. Some risk factors are associated with this problem, right? So they have some genetical predisposition to this disorders. So we need to check that also. So patient history, you need to gather this much of information. And apart from that, we all know name, age, and other data, that address, contact number. And then you just remember the patient's name. Like next time if they are coming to you, just call them with their name, and then they get like these are all very important tips to improve your rapport with the patient. Okay, so they already like, oh wow, they remember our name also. They maybe they give more importance to us. So we'll tell them. Sometimes so reserved, some patients are they're very much reserved, introverted people and all. You need to ask, you need to, it's your responsibility. They are not opening up, or they are not telling you the all the information required, means the problem is with us. We need to ask in such a way, or we need to create a confidence in them that they have to give all the details. Okay, maybe first day some people are too reserved, means leave them whatever information, or just have a normal chat, and then the next day try to gather the information. Maybe first day they may be, you are familiar with your environment, but they are new to that and they don't know what you are going to do. Always how we go with for dentist, right? We always have that fear in us. Like that, they may think what treatment we will plan. So just be calm and gain a confidence, and then next day you can ask them about other detail. The same question, if you ask them next time, they will give you more informations. Okay, so these are the patients. Gathering the patients information will give you a so much of knowledge, as well as you can the treatment, for deciding the treatment or planning the treatment also very easy. And one more thing is, sometimes their cognitive ability, how much they are how to say that, what is their thinking capacity, how much they are understanding the problem, this kind of thing. And beliefs, I already told you, they have some misconceptions, they may have some wrong ideas. They may thought that physiotherapy is not going to improve, or this problem cannot resolve. It may be lifelong, or maybe the neighbors and the knowledge they gather from like neighbors or their family members, or through a social media, anything, anywhere they get, but it is not a correct one. Wrong beliefs, fear of the problems, like that also will delay the healing. So we need to find out what is their psychosocial aspect. So that's what I told you. Nowadays we are giving more importance to psychological issues, because depression, stress, anxiety, these are all will influence your treatment. So just give the importance. Just do long back, maybe 5 years, 6 years back, we don't consider their mental problems or whatever running on them. Just we are thinking about the tissues, muscles, ligaments, just like that we treat it. But it is not the case now. We have to give as a holistic approach. We call it as a whole, the person as a whole we need to treat. They are the living souls. They have mind, they are thinking. Okay, so go and handle the patient in such a way. Okay. And one more thing is, some people are too talkative. How the one aspect, one extreme cases, like people are more reserved. Some patients are more like, they will give you a more irrelevant information, their family details, or day-to-day active things happen in their life. Because the old age people, they always like to give you so much information. It is there, but it is not the right time. We have, maybe the patients are waiting, other patients will be waiting for you to treat. So just make them channel the patient to gather information, and then listen carefully whatever information, because when you listen carefully only, you can ask the next question. From that information you can ask next question that is more relevant to you. So that's why listen carefully and concentrate on whatever they are saying. Okay, don't think about your problem, or what we have to take for lunch or breakfast. Don't think in that way. Listen carefully to what they are saying, and that's what I told you. Don't lead the patient towards answers. Okay, maybe you are predicting one, maybe our knee pain means osteoarthritis, and if you have that bias, means you always direct them or channel them in that way. You want them to answer in that way. It's like without your knowledge you may direct them. So I don't want that. We don't want to bias the patient. So open type and generalized question, that is important. And one more thing is the closed-ended history. If you don't have much time, maybe 10 minutes or 5 minutes to history taking means, what we can do is we can have some questionnaires, and you just give them a questionnaire and then ask them to fill it. What are the chief complaints and all the name, age, everything. And it is in the written format. And then after that, you just read it, and where exactly you need to concentrate, that thing you can ask more questions like related to that. For example, chief complaints. If they give you very little information about pain or other chief complaints means, just give them some scrutinize in that aspect, in that very limited area, and then you can go for objective examination. If you have time constraint, we can reduce the subjective examination to a very maybe reduce your time on that. So open-ended history, it's like a interview between examiner and patient. That's why I told you, address the patient's fear and concerns. What is their problem? If it is not, maybe some people are inconsistent. They are not coming regularly, on and off. 2 days they will come, and after that 3 days they won't come to your clinic, and then the next week or 10 days later they can, like that. If it is on and off, you check them, what is their problem, what is their maybe they don't have much hope in continuing the treatment, and after that the pain appears means they come again. Like that, some people have some kind of misconceptions. So you need to clarify that. You need to give clear information about what you are doing, what are the prognosis duration, the course of duration, course of the treatment. For example, it is maybe some conditions it can resolve completely, or some things you need to maintain or change in the lifestyle. Okay, so for example, osteoarthritis, knee osteoarthritis, you have to like the prevention is better, but if already degenerative changes appears means, they need to reduce body weight and healthy lifestyle. That is very important. So these are the pain important. I told you the complaint, chief complaints. Gather the information related to chief complaint. Mainly the pain. The pain is the first chief complaint. The patient comes to you. So what you can ask is onset, the beginning of pain. Whether it is a sudden onset. Sudden onset when you will have like after injury or any trauma, you have sudden onset, or else it is a gradual one. Maybe 2 weeks back, it's a mild pain, and then it settled down, and then again it reappears. So that is like a gradual onset, or maybe mild intensity, and then moderate, and then now he's having a severe one. Or insidious onset. Insidious means without your knowledge, or without that, it may slowly, gradually develop, and then it causes severe problem. Suddenly, it becomes so severe. Okay, without your prior knowledge, but there is no history of trauma. Some cancers or some other problems and all have an insidious, like myocardial infarction. These are all very insidious. Insidious means it's very you cannot predict it. It is very silent killer. It always has its root, but you couldn't predict it. Very mild clues and hints you get from that, and suddenly it becomes very, very life-threatening. It may happen. So the onset of complaint, the onset of the problem is very important question you need to ask. And then provoking, which one is aggravating the problem, which one is relieving. Maybe for low backache, the bed rest will, some people, bed rest will settle it, and after started walking, it reappears. Like that, they commonly say like that. So these are all aggravating and relieving factors. And quality of pain. Quality of pain means that the type is explaining. Vague, diffuse, boring, burning, or nagging. Various types are there. Hundreds of explanation for a pain is there. Okay, so the quality of pain also very important. What is the, ask them, how you feel. Tell me about the type of pain you have. And then the radiation, is there any radiating pain, and severity of the complaint, and exactly the point where the pain starts. If you find out the point of pain, it's so easy to settle the problem. If it is diffuse or vague pain, you may get confused. But if it is you can easily pinpoint the pain, the point of pain, then it is like your 60% success. You find it easy to progress the treatment. And then time frame. Why we need to know whether it is how long the pain is, whether it is acute, subacute, and chronic. What is the need for that? Why we need to know the time frame? That's why. What is the need for that? Why we need to know acute, subacute, and chronic?
We can know which type of pain management we
Pardon? It's breaking. Your voice is.
can know which type of pain management we can give.
Okay, very. I think.
Is it?
It's too bad. Actually, connectivity is very poor. Okay, ma. So the acute. Why we need to know? The first reason is, you can accordingly you can change the management part. That is one reason. Other reason is, in the acute stage, the patient comes to you with acute stage. Don't examine or don't go for like how to say that. Don't give much importance or reduce the number of tests you are going to perform. Okay, in the acute stage means just make sure that very, very important test, 2 or 3 tests. That's it. Don't go for more than that. Okay, so the testing, or in the acute stage, limit your testing to very, very important one. Because in the acute stage, whatever it is, whatever the test you check, it will cause or it will aggravate the pain. So acute stage, very mandatory one. Just to conduct a very mandatory test, and other things just reserve it for subacute and chronic stage. Okay, ask them to have painkillers and bed rest or splinting, proper splinting, and ice, the cryotherapy, etc. And don't go for very like immediately. Maybe with the radiographic findings or diagnostic procedures, okay. Other than that, reduce the number of tests you need to perform in the acute stage. Okay, if the patient has like for 5 months I have this problem, or 3 to 4 weeks I have this problem, means just feel free to test it. Okay, so acute means it's a very raw one, or it is at the peak stage of inflammation. During that time, we don't want to worsen the condition. That is the reason. So other than the management part, this testing is also influenced by this time period. Okay, now we are coming to the objective examination. First one is observation and inspection. Okay, generalized inspection, we call it observation. Okay, detailed, narrow down inspection in that specific area, we call it inspection. Means it's a very limited observation, limited area of observation. We call it inspection. Okay, so what I'm saying is, when a patient comes to you from the entrance to the place where you're sitting, during that time duration, whatever you're going to gather, whatever you're checking them or watching them, right, that details are called observation. And then the specific area where you are going to treat. For example, knee pain, you are going to check that specific area. That is called inspection. Okay, so observation. So what are the things you can check from far itself? What are the details? Means gait. The important thing we can observe is a gait pattern. Is there any abnormal gait, or is there any trunk leaning, or some kind of list or scoliosis like that? Any thoracic deformities you can check. And then you can check about the posture, any abnormal posture. What about the upper limb placement? What is the change in the right and left side, or what is the angle of neck placement, or lower limb, how is the posture of the lower limb? Is he limping, or is he using any devices or external aids? Okay, so these are all the details you get from then one thing is the physical appearance. Okay, so that obese, or very slim, or moderate build, or healthy fit kind of appearance. Okay, so general appearance and functional status, whether he is independent in walking, or somebody is there, or any walking aids, wheelchair, comes in a wheelchair. So all the details you gather. And then body type I told you, and then the postural deviations, any abnormality. And then that's all from observation. From observation point, that's it. And then inspection. So inspection, I told you, like detailed observation of the specific area. Low back ache means the lumbar area, and then this low back region you are going to observe. Or if it is a neck region, cervical problems, you are going to observe the from the cervical hairline, posterior hairline to C7. So that is what we call inspection. So what are the things you can check is skin. What is that? Color, texture, and is there any like erythema, or any kind of darkish, dark bluish discoloration, blackish discoloration? These are all is a sign of injury, contusion, this kind of things. Maybe it is an acute stage. The pain is maybe very raw. That kind of thing you can find out. And then texture, dry or scaly, or sweaty or oily, that kind of thing. The skin is also you can check. And other things are any prominences, any abnormal prominences, any deformity, knee joint hallux valgus, or foot deformities, or subcutaneous tissue swelling. Is there any swelling, or any joint like dislocation, the patellar alignment, or in the cervical region you can check for a skin tone. Skin tone is on palpation, right? Just observe, is there any change in the texture of the skin? Okay, this is actually wasting. You can see there is a wasting of muscles. Okay, so that's what bruising, any scar tissues, maybe any surgical surgery, you can come to know about the surgery, or any past injuries, past trauma. From scar itself, you can get the information. And then changes in color. That's what I told you. The vascular changes, if there is any inflammation, means it becomes red, or erythema. Arithmetic response would be there. And if any lack of blood supply, we can come to know that is a pale, or whitish discoloration, or cyanosis. and any other growths, abnormal growths, or bony nodules. This kind of things you can come to know. So this is actually clubbing. Some abnormality in the nail beds. Maybe if the person is having clubbing, maybe any cardiovascular or respiratory problems. They have chronic complaints, cardiovascular, cardiorespiratory problems. They may have clubbing. Sometimes some normal people also have the development of clubbing. Sometimes the nail, it is genetic. Some people have that. So check for that. Check maybe if their family, if anybody has this clubbing kind of appearance. Sometimes it's normal in families. Nose bleeding. I heard in one family, the nose bleeding is very normal. Maybe if they get any stress or anxiety, they easily get nose bleeding. But it is a very big problem, right? When the person is having head injury, the nose bleeding is a very abnormal thing. But sometimes some families it runs hereditary problems. So you need to check that. Okay, and then is there any swelling, atrophy, or edema, nodules, lymph nodes, cyst, and compare it with normal side. Okay, and then you can use circumferential measurements for finding out the accurate, for palpating, like the accurate measurement of swelling. For accurate measurement of swelling, you can use circumferential measurements. Okay, inch tape measurement for girth, finding out the girth of the limb. So these are the bony abnormalities or bony structure inspection. Shoulder height, pelvic tilt, lordosis, kyphosis, scoliosis, or any other congenital and so genu varus, Bownies. So in the old age, the osteoarthritic people most commonly develop this type of deformity, genu varum. And then in early childhood, maybe the children from 1 to 4 years of age as very common. Genu varum is common. And after that, it may changes to genu valgum. Okay, so the proper exercises, we need to give the proper strengthening exercise to correct the deformity. In old age people also, strengthening quadriceps and hamstring, IT band strengthening will relieve because of too much of tight genu varum. The main reason is maybe the imbalance in the medial and lateral aspect. Okay, so accurately find out the tightness, which aspect is tight, and then relax or stretching the component, and then strengthening the other side. The medial aspect, if it is weak, and then the lateral aspect, the IT bands are too tight. The lateral retinaculum and IT band are too tight, means stretch the IT band and then give strengthening to VMO, vastus medialis oblique. Okay, thereby we can correct some kind of osteoarthritic problems. For lifelong solution or to maintain the problem in control, means you have to follow the lifelong procedures like strengthening programs. They need to follow that. So the palpation. So it is also 3-layered. Light touch means the skin level. You can see you can feel the changes. And if it is a little bit pressure, little bit of increase in pressure can give you subcutaneous tissues and all. And then the deep pressure is useful for checking muscles, and then joint and bony structures. So skin temperature, you can check the tone, you can check the skin temperature, and then you can find out the sensations also. And is there any how the mobility of the tissues, whether it is flexible, elastic, it will tell you a lot. The tissue mobility is there means maybe there is no problem with soft tissues, or if there is any restriction, do like upward movement, downward movement, and then sideways, and then circular movements. If it is mobile in all the aspect, then the soft tissue, there is no issue with soft tissues. Otherwise, you need to check which tissues are problem by choosing any important techniques, like in the active movements and passive movement. By checking the active and passive movements, you can tell which structure is affected, which structure has created a problem. Okay, that's why the skin level means don't apply any pressure. But if you are going for subcutaneous soft tissues, just apply a little bit increase in pressure. And then you can check for tenderness and swelling, very important for checking the tenderness on the joint line. Then it will tell you that the problem arises from joint surface, or because of joint the problem started. A joint line pain. So we need, before that, it's a joint line pain, you need to palpate, you need to have a better knowledge about surface anatomy, or how to palpate the joint lines. So the tenderness, the very important tool, right? The tenderness grading scale. We have 4 grades. So grade 1 means, we all know that, right? Grade 1, the patient complains of pain. Grade 2, pain and winces, the painful facial reaction. And grade 3, patient has a painful facial reaction, as well as he withdraws a joint. He withdraws means he remove it. And grade 4, he cannot allow you to palpate the joint. That is grade 4. Okay. After that, the types of swelling. You can get all the information about how the texture of the swelling. Whether it is a sometimes it looks like some fluid is running inside, or sometimes it kind of leathery, elastic feel. Okay, so and the time of appearance also plays a major role. The majority of the swelling, one of the reasons for the majority of swelling is trauma. Any injury to that area may cause swelling, but you need to know immediately after injury, or the 24 to 40 hours later injury, or maybe in the chronic stage. What about the types of swelling? So immediately after injury means mostly it is of bleeding, blood. It contains, that swelling contains blood. So immediately means your vascular, the problem starts in vascular injury. So the bleeding would be there. So immediate, within 5 minutes, you get that swelling. So 8 to 24 hours after an injury, if it started, and then for first 2 days, from 24 to 48 hours, if you have a type of swelling, is it contains synovial fluid. Okay, so it is kind of spongy, that is more mobile, that kind of swelling it would be. When you compress it, you can come to know how it varies. Immediately after injury, the pain or swelling started means it is it contains blood. but 24 1 day later, or maybe 8 hours, the minimum is 8 hours later means it's a synovial fluid. And then the tough and dry, so it is immobile or elastic. When you mobilize the swelling also, it is fixed one, or tough means it is like a hardened one. The synovial fluid also becomes thickened in that case, or it is like a kind of bony swelling and all this, everything feels hard kind of feel to the examiner. And thickened leathery, it's a chronic swelling. So more mobile, soft and fluctuating, it is more mobilizing. The fluid is more mobilizing means it's acute swelling. Hard means the bone. And one more thing is pitting edema. So what is pitting edema means, when you compress any type of any swelling, when you compress it and then remove the pressure, remove your finger from the from that side, means it takes some like 30 seconds or 30 to 60 seconds to fill the pit or fill the depression. Then we call it pitting edema. It is a very, very like it's a red flag sign that the person is having any cardiorespiratory problems. The pitting edema is there means you need to check the cardiorespiratory problems or any test, and then in the excretory system also. So the pitting edema is very, very, it's a danger sign that you need to take care of. Otherwise, the normal musculoskeletal problems, if the swelling is there means it won't be that. It is a non-pitting edema. After removing your fingers, it will settle down. Within 30 seconds, it will close the depression. Any doubts?
No.
Am I going fast?
Miss. No, miss.
Is it okay with you all?
Okay, miss.
Thank you. And then I told you for cardiovascular conditions and elderly population or very young age means you need to check the vital signs. Okay, so and one more thing for reminding us, for sports people also, you need to check the pulse, because to provide that high intensity exercise, we need to fix on, or we need to set up a like maximum heart rate level. Right, for that calculation also we need to know heart rate. And for elderly also, we need to be very careful in prescribing the exercises. For that reason, we need to check the pulse. And then palpating the bony structures, like is there any alignment problems, dislocation, subluxation, fractures, and any bony enlargements, or is there any reduced joint space or increased because of traction. Whenever we are handling a fracture management, the GPs, the physician will give you a traction that will increase the joint space. Sometimes it will enlarge the joint space. That thing also you can find out. You can compare the other side, other normal side. Thereby we can find out which one is has having problem. Okay. Because some there are variance in normal degrees. For some people, it's normal. In their family itself, this aspect is normal for them. So we need to find out that. Sometimes the hyperextension of the elbow, it's run in families. He is having too flexible. It is too flexible that they do in such a way that it is a hyperextending. You may have seen some people. So you need to check that. Other side also, it's same way. It's hyperextending in that way means we can be clear that it is a 1 degree of one extreme of normal. Okay. And then now we are coming to very important aspect called range of motion. So movement, the first thing is pain, and next one is achieving the normal range of motion. These two are very important. That is our main role in rehabilitation, is achieving the movement. If you achieve the movement, then the functional active, the patient regain their functional as like independence. Without that only they have lag in that. Okay, so range of motion, testing the range of motion is very um, essential thing. So what are the range of motion assessment? Passive, active, and resisted. So passive and active, you all know that, right? The active movements and passive movements. The passive means the patient relaxes, he completely relaxed, and then the therapist or other external force, we are creating a movement or doing the movement by external force, then we call it passive. Active means the active movements. The active movements are like the patient is producing, like he is voluntarily complete the movement. Okay, that is active. And resisted. So while performing the movement, you are going to oppose the movement. Okay, that is a resisted exercise. Passive, active, and resisted exercise. These three movements, these three types of movements will give you a lot of information that is useful for your planning the treatment. So first comes to a passive range of motion. And one more thing is select the painless movement. From if you're starting a assessment, if you're starting the objective examination, before that you come to know that which one is painful, and make it the painful movements to be the last. Okay, just observe it and note down that which one is painful, and then make it to the last. Okay, or else it will create unnecessary, like initially if you do the painful movement and it becomes sensitized, that all the remaining movements also looks painful, so you cannot get the exact accurate information. That is a very important point. So what we have to do is make it to the end, which one is painful. For example, neck extension. If you're during your subjective examination, you come to know that your neck extension is painful, means ask them to do that in the final or the when you are almost completed the assessment, that time you do you ask them to complete it. Otherwise you cannot get that accurate information. All the movements are painful. If you started the neck extension and it started pain, means all the movements looks painful. So that is the reason. So here your the examiner is going to move the body part without the patient's help. The patient should be relaxed, completely relaxed, and check the movement. What are the things you are going to check in the movement? Okay, for example, shoulder flexion. When you take example, shoulder flexion means you need to check whether it achieves the full range or whether how much is possible. Okay, so the normal range of motion or increased range of motion or decreased range of motion. Maybe 0 to 180 is a normal shoulder flexion, means is it achieving that 170 to 180, or maybe it is extending, or because of the ligament instability it may increase, the range of motion may be increased, or sometimes it goes till 90, 0 to 90. After that you cannot continue or you cannot progress. Okay, so these are the like how much is possible. And one more thing is, while completing the movement, check for pain response. Maybe if pain is there, if he's saying some pain is there, means check which level, whether it is an inner range. Inner range means like from the trunk of your body to 90 or 60 degree, and after that 60 to 120, and 120 to 170 to 180. In these three phases, in which aspect or in the which quadrant the pain is severe, or in which area the pain disappears. Okay, so that pain is very important. Note the pain response, and then you need to ask about the quality of movement, how smooth it is. Whether sometimes you feel in the middle range, you find some resistance in completing the movement, or maybe in the initial range, you find it difficult, or in some aspects, it becomes too heavy, or it's too numb. Sorry, it's too heavy, or it is difficult to perform the movement. Okay, then we feel the resistance, or maybe end feel. You need to know about the last 2 or 3 degrees. The end range means after 180. 180 is the normal limit, means after that go for some end pressure, and check the response of the tissue. That is what we call end feel. Very important tool for us, the end feel checking. So before going into the end feel abnormal, checking for end feel abnormality, you need to know which one is normal, which end feel is normal. Then only you can say that it is abnormal end feel. Okay, so check for the with your fellow friends. With your friends itself, you can check that end feel. What about end feel? So normal people, if you know that what is the end feel kind of thing, then if you're treating a patient, that time if you check the end feel, it's easy to find out. Okay, so what are the three things you need to know is, one is the pain response and which range it is. The pain arises in which range and disappears in which range. That is very important. And then how much range is produced. Okay, whether it is completing the movement, or increased movement, or decreased. And then the other one is the smoothness, the smoothness in which you are completing the movement, whether you feel the jerky movement, or whether we feel any resistance in some ranges, like that. Okay, we will end it here. Okay, next tomorrow we will talk about the active range and resisted exercise. Is there any doubts you have so far? Anything you want to clarify?
No, miss.
Okay, thank you. What about others? Am I going too fast, or do you want me to any suggestions also? Please feel free to contact me. You all know my number, right? So any suggestions or any doubts, anytime you can ask for clarification.
Okay, miss.
Let's wind up. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, miss.
Thank
Bye.
you, miss.
Thank you, miss.
Bye bye.